Did you put Christmas on a credit card? Don't stress out about that extra holiday spending. SaveWithConrad.com can help you consolidate all of your high interest rate credit cards into one much lower monthly payment. SaveWithConrad.com has helped families just like yours save up to $800 a month. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. And did I mention no payments until March? So don't make saving money a resolution next year. Make it happen today at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, Conrad Thompson. Here we are. What a morning it's been already. It's that time of year. We got stockings all over this house, Connie. Christmas is going to be big here at the Jarrett household this year. Looking forward to chatting. This is going to be almost our Christmas edition here. It's going to be a Ask Conrad Anything today.
What are we doing now? Huh?
Yeah, we're doing an Ask Conrad Anything. Oh, yeah. So I got one question.
Okay.
I'm going to change it up. Who beats the Titans?
Everybody. Man, what's going on with your lowly Titans? I mean,
Conrad, good to see you, my man. Lots and lots and lots of football going on, obviously. Folks across the pond, others around the world may not give two shits about our football, but boy, oh boy, it's that time of year. College football, pro football. Titans laid a freaking egg yesterday. Oh, my God. Talked to a buddy of mine, Conrad. He has not missed a home game in years and years and years. He goes with a business partner, and he texts me in the fourth quarter, and he said, I may break my streak today. And I said, what's that? He said, I may exit before the game's over.
Well, all right. How about that?
He stuck it out. But man, oh man. So how you doing, Connie?
I'm excited to be here with you today. We're going to be talking a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of football. I guess we should just start at the beginning. You mentioned it. The Titans lost to that nothing happening son of a plumber, Joe Burrow. He gets the win 37-27 over the Titans. But also over the weekend, we saw the Chiefs get their hand raised over the Browns. The Commanders somehow steal a win. The Rams best the 49ers. The Ravens beat the Giants. What's surprising there? The Cowboys actually won a game, but it's against the Panthers. Let's not get crazy.
They were Panthers were favored going into it. Go ahead.
The Bills and the Lions were in a shootout, 48-42, and the Lions have some injuries. So it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like. But a lot of people were pumped to see that one. And I'm sure in your household, there was a lot of chatter about the Steelers losing by 14 to the Eagles. What the hell happened to Cody's team here?
He was incredibly down. It was a somber day, somber evening. Yeah, I couldn't even get Cody to watch the Packers last night in the Sunday night game. So he had a big smile on his face because he likes to see me get frustrated. And there were all kinds of records set in the Burrow game yesterday against the Titans. Most turnovers, most penalties. So Codes had a good time watching me get frustrated. I'd go outside and grill a little bit and come back in, but all good. But fantasy football, just as a footnote, my friend and yours, the Monster Abyss, a.k.a. Joe Park, eked in the playoffs, but I think his season will come to an end tonight, like it usually does. So I know that he wants a lot of respect. And Conrad, that group text just completely, he gets out of hand. Him asking for respect. That man, you don't demand respect. You command it, and he has done nothing to command respect. Would you agree with me, pal?
Dude, I don't think you could have. First of all, I have it on good authority that you are outlawed from betting in the state of Tennessee. And a lot of people don't know this, but Jeff Jarrett is such a great sports handicapper that the entire state of Tennessee will not allow Jeff to place bets on sports because he don't miss. Everybody knows that, which is why we're going to get his picks right now, because this weekend is the college football playoff. It's getting started this Friday night when Indiana is going to be playing Notre Dame. Notre Dame comes in as a 7.5 point favorite It'll be airing this Friday night at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. What do you expect to see on ABC, NBC? Is Notre Dame, who's played absolutely no one and doesn't even have a conference, going to be able to beat Indiana, who had a losing record last year, jump in the transfer portal, get a little help at quarterback, and now they're in the playoffs? Notre Dame's a 7.5-point favorite. What do you think, Double J?
Oh, Fighting Irish is going to roll right through it. Shout out my man, Irish Pat Kenny, Simon Diamond. That's another group chat that I have. And we go, that group chat goes back to 2000, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, something like that, all about college football. He's obviously a Notre Dame fan, but they're going to roll on through there. Indiana didn't play anybody either. And when they did, they got stomped. So, boy, Indiana fan is going to be upset at me. But Fighting Irish, get it. We'll talk about that portal in a minute. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Bill Belichick. But go ahead with your picks.
Penn State and SMU, they're going to hook it up on Saturday morning. Penn State is an 8.5-point favorite. What do you expect? Is it going to be the Nittany Lions Day?
Of course. I mean, there's SEC, and then there's the rest, and SMU kind of slid in, and they didn't. Their strength of schedule was brutal too. So they made a little rally in the second half of their last game, but I see them falling. Their season's over Saturday.
Well, speaking of over, Texas has certainly been over like Grover. They're an 11.5-point favorite against Clemson. Dabo Swinney's got his boys fired up. He told us when they made it into the playoffs that God has a plan. Does God plan to send Dabo back home with his head down, or is he going to pick up the upset of the century against Texas this weekend?
Did I hear that line 11, Conrad?
11.5-point favorites, Texas is.
Wow.
11.5 in a playoff game.
Well, I don't bet, but if I would absolutely take Clemson. Dabo will take this down to the wire. I believe that. And I know, and I think you're one of them that are on the big Texas bandwagon. And I think that both those quarterbacks, Ewers, or what's his name, and Manning, both of them, they're both good, but Texas is beatable. I think that could be
the upset.
If there is out of the four, I'm going to go there. Because
whoa! You said if there is an upset, it's there, but we haven't even gotten to the main event. It's this Saturday night.
Yes, but go ahead because
Tennessee, Ohio State. Ohio State is a 7-point favorite, so Ohio State has 7 points over Tennessee, who's got one of the stud quarterbacks in the whole doggone shooting match. What do you expect to see this weekend? You damn homer.
Let me ask you, who came up? And I know Vegas knows everything. I just think that line is ridiculous.
You know, the deal is they're not trying to make money. I mean, they're trying to get even money, so they just get the juice on both sides. They don't care. So that clearly makes me believe there is a ton of money coming in Ohio State. I'm a homer. I'm picking Tennessee.
Yeah, yeah. That gambling mindset always sometimes is counterintuitive to what I'm thinking. So you're thinking nationwide or worldwide, everybody thinks, Ohio State's going to roll.
I think that's clear for the line to be 7. They think that a lot of the smart money is going to come in. A lot of the big money, a lot of the early money is coming in Ohio State. They make it 7 to hope that they can get money on the other side. Jeff, I think that betting and gambling, based on my understanding, is about mitigating risk. Yes. So you don't want 80% on one side or 20% on the other, because you're going to get the juice, the 10% bid from both sides.
You make a fortune.
So you want it to be kind of 50-50. These people lost, those people won, but we kept 10% from both. It's a win for the casino or the bookies or what have you. I still think Tennessee is going to shock the world here. I think Clemson has an opportunity to upset Texas, but I think Ohio State, as good as they are, I think your quarterback, the word is he's going to be playing. He's going to be the secret sauce, don't you think?
According to Jim, a guy asked me, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Gosh, in this day and age in college football, you've got 2 weeks to prepare. You know, barring injuries and all that, but UT's defense can hang, and our speed. Would you want Coach Day or Coach Heupel going in with a 2-week game plan? I'm going with the offensive-minded Coach Heupel. I'm going. Yeah, that's why I don't think. Yeah, obviously it's an upset. I'd forgotten the line. I do remember that coming out early. So yeah, but I think Dabo is just, if there is an we'll call it. I think Dabo has a shot. So I know one thing: the ratings are going to be off the charts. Like, can you imagine? I don't know.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm already making plans with my friends. I'm going to be watching the Friday night game. I'm not going to miss any of the Saturday games. Saturday, we're going to be parked in my living room and we're going to be hammering it out. It's going to be a great time. It's a great time to be a football fan, and it's a great time to be a wrestling fan because, Jeff, this time of year, and I know you love it as much as I do, it's all about the Continental Classic. Let's take a look and see where we are right now with the Continental Classic. Of course, if you haven't been paying attention, there's a gold league. There's two leagues. We'll go first with the gold league. And right now, Claudio Castagnoli is leading with 6 points. And then we've got a four-way tie with Darby Allin, Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Brody King, all at 3 points each. Commander has yet to pick up a win. He's got 0 points. So Claudio Castagnoli off to a good start so far. And then on the other league, we take a look in the blue league, and we see that Kyle Fletcher has quite a lead. He's got 9 points. Okada and Daniel Garcia both have 4 each. Mark Briscoe and Shelton Benjamin are tied at 3 each. And the Beast Mortos, he has a goose egg like Commander. You know, when we first got going on this thing, we laid our picks out there. What do you think about where we are right now with Claudio and Kyle Fletcher in the lead?
You know, and just to kind of give a shout out, unfortunate injury with Juice, and I saw the report over the weekend, the fibula and all that. Man, Juice got a ton of charisma. Well wishes to my man. Well wishes to him. You know, Conrad, when you get into these tournaments and you kind of have to take a complete step back, I still, and I believe it's Excalibur that coined the term, the most success, or maybe it's Nigel, most successful tournament wrestler in history. I think they're kind of letting them lead with that with Okada. How do you bet against Okada? And I know Fletcher jumped out to a big lead, and Claudio, and you've got talent out the wazoo across the board. But I'm curious to see where we go and how they're going to lay it out. And you know, at World's End, you're going to get both semifinals and a final. So the guys in the tournament still have their work cut out. I still find it hard to bet against Okada.
World's End is the next AEW pay-per-view, and it's headed our way before we know it. I thought we should at least talk a little bit about what that looks like from a card standpoint. So far, we've got the four-way announced for the world title. It's Jon Moxley, Orange Cassidy, Hangman Adam Page, and Jay White. We also know that we're going to see MJF wrestle Adam Cole for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. We're going to have Mariah May and Thunder Rosa in a Tijuana street fight for the AEW Women's Championship. We've got Takeshita taking on Powerhouse Hobbs for the International Championship. And then, of course, we're going to be crowning a winner of the Continental Classic for the AEW Continental Championship. It'll be the semifinal winners against each other, then the Blue League versus the Gold League. And we also get the runner-up matchups. This is all happening down in Orlando on December 28th. So we're just a couple of weeks away now. Tickets are on sale at AEWTIX.com. What a great place to do this. I think last year they did a World's End. I think it was in New Jersey.
New York. Yep.
And now we're going to be in Orlando. So we're at least going to be in a warmer climate.
Amen.
AEW always delivers on pay-per-view. Going to be a lot of great wrestling, a lot of great matches on this one. Are you pumped for World's End? It'll be here before you know it, dude.
I'm certainly pumped for being down in Orlando that time of year. But no, God, I cannot believe how fast this year has gone by, because it feels like not that long ago that we were looking at the first first Continental Classic, and just how that kind of transpired out. And I guess the roller coaster of Tournament 1, but here we are in Tournament 2 in Orlando. But in that main event, my man Hangman, wouldn't be surprised if old Hangman figured a way out. That's going to be. How do I say this? That is 4 clashes of 4 unique styles. Because when you look at all 4 of them, you don't really say, okay, they're similar. They all really do have a different style. I've got my eye on that. And in maybe a unique kind of way, I'm pulling for Hangman.
Hangman's sort of become one of your favorite opponents. I mean, that's quietly been something that I have sort of observed. You really enjoy mixing it up with him in the ring, don't you?
He's aggressive. Yeah, he brings it, and I respect that. When a guy, he's super athletic. He had that trilogy of matches against Swerve. Kind of in that, we'll call it feud. I went and did quite a bit of research on his matches and his body of work, not just AEW, going all the Japan, Ring of Honor. And just kind of knowing the story. And so I've got a lot of respect for the guy. So, man, we'll see what happens, but Orlando is shaping up. The Hobbs match was announced. You covered that, obviously Continental Classic. And then everybody's favorite Punk MJF. What a little shithead, right?
Everybody hates MJF. We're going to talk about that nothing happening son of a bitch in just a minute, but I wanted to ask you first, about a week ago now, as we're talking, Dave Meltzer had a discourse, and I'm going to bring this up to you because you mentioned that you're kind of pulling for Hangman, and I'm sure that strikes a lot of people by surprise. But a fellow named Bruno on Twitter said AEW could take a page out of the WWE marketing book to understand how to promote a brand. Though AEW has stars, they lack a true superstar to garner attention. The WWE brand is now bigger than any one star, but they did need superstars to build the brand. AEW lacks superstars. And Dave Meltzer quote tweeted that and said, they lack the superstar babyface who almost never loses in the headline position. It's what you need badly in a promotion with so many heel beatdown angles. And a lot of the comments just went bananas saying, hey, that's Hangman Adam Page. Fans are cheering for him even when he's a heel. And I think a lot of the AEW faithful believe that Hangman Adam Page could be that superstar babyface to build around. And I don't know that I would have always seen that or thought that, but hearing how fond you were of his work, once you actually got in there and got to work with him, it made me say to myself, have I missed this? Has this been in front of me the whole time? What do you think about perhaps Hangman Adam Page being that guy?
I'm gonna steal your line, Conrad. We dove in. We were talking classic and football, and you just we're jumping off here. A lot to unpack there on what you just said, because you started with Meltzer saying they lack we'll call it, paraphrasing, the unbeatable baby face. But in the comments, is that what I'm hearing, that the people kind of responded with,
hey, the guy that AEW's been looking for all along, that even when he's a heel, fans don't want to boo him. Even when he's a heel, fans want to cheer him. He gets cheered whether he's on TV every week or he misses a few weeks or a few months, but he has good matches and the fans seem to be with him. I think a lot of AEW diehards feel like Hangman Adam Page could be their guy.
Well, and so that's what I think is, I'm processing it real time, Conrad. I know, we'll call it an Arthur Ashe in the lumberjack strap match. I don't think many people cheered Hangman. The old Last Outlaw was a fan favorite that night. That's why I think, going back to my set point is Hangman knows how to evoke emotion, and we've said it many times here on the show, creative subjective. And so it depends on what lane the talent's going to pick, or the process is going to be, or how the promotion's going to roll it out. Do I think Hangman could be that guy? Yeah, but it's staying the course. And either you said it or however said that the WWE brand or the brand is bigger, and I always say yes and no to that. You kind of look at Cody. He just kind of his trajectory. He's making, I can't say the meteoric rise, because when he stepped back over there a couple of WrestleManias ago, he was already at a level and it kept going. But with that being said, how long had Roman been the unbeatable, immovable object? Even before Cody got there, and then it was a full 2 years. So it's just that long term. And I don't want to say storytelling because that puts us in a box, but the process of developing talent from entry level all the way to beyond superstar talent, the Mole Man and other promoters would call them, well, he's a box office attraction, means he'll create revenue. There's such a huge difference. So Conrad, I went way off track there, but anyhow, yeah.
Dave Walker had another thing on Twitter I want to ask you about, because you mentioned Cody. Jack of Spades in the middle of this conversation on Twitter says they need someone like that, but on the other end, it's not the 90s anymore, and it's pretty impossible to make another baby face to that level without people turning on them or comparing them negatively. But they do need to reach more audiences. And Dave quote tweeted that and said, if people getting behind a baby face as the top guy won't work, then they're doomed to decline. But WWE turned it around with Cody, a babyface who they protected, and he's had 2 great years. To your point, that's what they did with Roman Reigns too. They protected him. He didn't lose very often. He was used consistently. That's probably the right word that you used there. Do you think that the way that the WWE has built Cody with quote unquote protecting him and built Roman with quote unquote protecting him, is that what the AEW audience wants? Or do you think they really enjoy the matches and the physicality, and, protecting guys, wins and losses just aren't as important? Or are they still important? And we've learned that from Roman and Cody.
That's getting right into the fundamentals. I don't think the construction of a talent, construction of a match, construction of a promotion, you can have different variations and all that, but I just think that's why they're called the basics. And time takes time, but we'll call it the online, what's the word? Discourse and the tribalism that you've taught me about, Conrad, and all that. That is a barometer. It's not the barometer. And that's where, when you kind of dive into just what's public with Cody or Roman, and, the stats that Roman built up, all the main events in WrestleMania, but, being there for those however many years that was, 3 or 4 or 5 years, and looking at the hard data, when you kind of peel back and really take a hard look at not just quarter hour ratings, but minute by minute ratings and social media engagement and merchandise sales and live event sales, you just kind of take in everything. And then I also think that it is much like the subjectivity of the music business. But if you've been around long enough and stay in the game and really understand it, Conrad, the almighty ear, just listening to the people, and I'm not talking about yays and boos. I mean, you can really tell when a guy's music hits, or the feeling that after the 1, 2, 3, and you still when you see the people still on their feet and cheering, and just all the residual stuff that comes out of it. I think it's all a lot of metrics and feelings and all that at times, I just think so many times in the wrestling industry, we just kind of forget the mere basics of it.
Well, WWE went back to the basics over the weekend, and we saw the return of Saturday night's main event. And what a spectacle it was. They pulled all the nostalgia levers with the old school retro looking entrance, the old retro red, white, and blue ropes, the old Saturday night's main event logo, without the WWF, of course. We even had the platform for the announcers. And speaking of announcers, how about Jesse the Body Ventura returning? It was fun, man. It was interesting. I don't know exactly what I expected. I saw some people online who were disappointed, saying they wanted a surprise. Maybe they were expecting something different. I saw some criticism saying, "Hey, this was a glorified house show." I thought it was fun. It kept pace. I think there were 5 matches. I know we had some commercial breaks. We saw a little picture in picture. I did a little bit of a social experiment in my outdoor kitchen. I have a TV. I had that on the local NBC affiliate inside the living room. I was watching the Peacock feed. A lot of people made a lot of money on advertising that day. And there's actually a tweet that's come out since you and I have clicked record here from Jimmy Traina, a friend of the program who I met with Sports Illustrated back in the day. He's the host of the Sports Illustrated Media podcast. And he tweeted out this morning, "I'm hearing that WWE's Saturday night's main event on NBC drew more total viewers head to head than the Rockets Thunder NBA Cup thing on ABC Saturday night." The NBA Cup is this new tournament that they started doing just to spice it up. It's been well received, but it too was on broadcast on ABC. We don't know the final numbers just yet, but Jeff, that's got to be considered a high five moment for not just WWE, but wrestling fans everywhere if it's beating the NBA, right?
Prime time.
Yeah.
And ABC has done a couple of years now with their NBA package of Saturday nights. And Conrad, I got, not that you're ever concerned about this, but this weekend I got my workouts done and I got my honeydew list done. But boy, oh boy, did I have my iPad, Karen's iPad, my phone. And Cody at one time had his phone because he was tired of it. He was watching, that was yesterday. That was a Sunday football. And of course the big screen, and then up here in the bonus room. So I had a lot of screens going on at one time. But that's funny, man. I didn't even think about that, Conrad, watching the local NBC feed and the Peacock feed. Real quick, did they have different ads? Of course
they did. Of course, yeah.
But did they have any of the same when it went national? Or
when they went picture in picture, that was the only time that the ads didn't change at all. Okay. I wanted to see timing wise, was I getting any extra content on Peacock, or was I just getting commercials? The answer is no extra content, just commercials. But I was curious, and I felt like at first, actually, I know this is true. My Peacock feed was faster than my NBC feed. Later, though, the NBC feed was faster than the Peacock feed. And the only time they were perfectly synced is when they went picture in picture. There were no local ads, no local insertion. The NBC feed looked, here in Huntsville or North Alabama, it looked identical to the Peacock feed. And I know that some people listening to this are saying, "Hey, what does that matter?" Well, it matters to me because I'm a wrestling nerd and a junkie, but I also want to understand more about the business of the wrestling business. And we've seen programs like Yellowstone have a lot of very specific advertisers. And I wanted to see, what is the advertiser base going to look like locally versus nationally? Is this something they're having trouble selling, or just how will this coexist? Because a lot of wrestling fans, myself included, are concerned with, hey, what's going to happen when this Peacock deal is up? What's going to happen with our beloved archives that we all enjoyed on the WWE network? A lot of us abandoned actual physical media a long time ago. And I had been building for years and years and years with my buddy Clint from Hershey, a hard drive database, if you will. But when the network came out, we were like, well, hey, we don't have to do this anymore. So we've got something like 40 terabytes or something of wrestling stored somewhere that we don't even touch anymore, because it's like, well, hey, it's all there. Fans are a little nervous now. You don't have to be nervous. They're going to find a way to get somebody to pay them for that. It will come back. But this felt like an excellent way to sort of show the world what's possible. Because if this was a part of that Peacock deal to be on NBC and Peacock, and it comes out and it beats the NBA, boy, that's got to exceed expectations. Don't you think, Jeff?
And bravo, congrats to the wrestling business. Obviously, congrats to just the for me, and we're going to get into it, because I was, as a kid, a high schooler, I watched my Saturday nights main events, and even when I broke into the business, it was still going. Again, we'll get into that later if you want to, Conrad. But yeah, the Collision was on, basketball was on, well, that was the afternoon, the Army Navy game. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, but so much content was on. So for it to cut through the clutter, and then you just that's why I cannot lose my train of thought. A guy said, "Oh, it's a glorified house show." You can't please everyone all the time. What was their expectation? 5 matches, right, Conrad? I think.
Yeah.
And I heard complaints about too much commercial time and this and that. I'm just like, oh my God, you're never going to please folks. People just want to voice their opinion. And all I'll say as a promoter, as long as you're talking about us, good or bad, keep it coming. And the buzz and chatter was obviously there. Man, Conrad, does it give a number? Does the post, what's his name?
The ratings aren't out yet. They will be by the time everybody has listened to this. So we'll know exactly what the rating looks like. What I am curious about, though, is how they'll fare when they do this again. We know that Saturday night's main event is returning, and it's going to come back on January 25th. It's interesting, the timing. Of course, I feel like this past weekend was really to remind people about what's happening with Netflix and Monday Night Raw. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we know that the reason they're going to be in San Antonio on the 25th is to get people keyed up and excited about the Royal Rumble. That'll be the weekend before the Royal Rumble, but they'll be head to head on January 25th with the NBA again, with the Lakers playing the Warriors. That's a big game. And I know these two teams are no longer at the top of the heap, but there's a lot of star power. Who would have known that LeBron James would be taking a leave of absence? But if you've got LeBron James and you got Steph Curry, you got two of the biggest stars in the entire NBA. And that's going to be head to head on ABC while the WWE is promoting Saturday night's main event. This is interesting. Sometimes we talk about wrestling program A versus wrestling program B. Now we're talking about NBA Cup games. We're talking about Lakers and Warriors games in prime time. This is a horse of a different color, and it's great for all of wrestling, right?
Oh, it's fantastic. And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I am a basketball junkie, and I follow everything. As far as sports and sports ratings, I just saw this morning that the Thursday night game last week, the Rams Chargers did like 13 million, Conrad, streams, views on Amazon, and that's up like 54% from the game last year. So NFL ratings set records every week. College football through the roof. Not to really get into it, but as the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, they set ratings records. Girls volleyball on ESPN. I know you don't follow that, but they're really promoting that and trying to really build that property up. You just kind of look at all the different lanes folks are going. TNT with the baseball records. NBA's down, pal. Way down in certain, like way down in certain markets, but across the board they're down. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see where they take that property, how they address their issues, how they really dial into it. I think they kind of forgot what the greatest basketball of all time hung his hat on through the years. He would never get political. And I think the NBA got political both ways. And I think that didn't do him any good. But anyway, the NBA's down. So, timing's everything. And good old professional wrestling takes me back to hearing my father talk about the Nick Goulas promos back in the day. Every time he sat down to do promos, he would lead into, ladies and gentlemen, coming up this Saturday night or this Wednesday night or this Thursday night, the greatest card of all time. That's professional wrestling. So the hype, it's the news car sale. Only, I don't have to tell you, Conrad, but sell. So question for you, Conrad. Will the January Saturday night's main event, I know we don't know cards, we don't know anything, but based on what we know today, December the 16th, you don't even know the rating, so we don't really give numbers, but knowing what you know today, Will the rating be up or down in January?
Down.
Do you want to put a wager on that?
Love to.
Oh, look at you.
Glad to. I think Curiosity got a lot of people going for this one. Now, listen, they are going to have this new thing happen along the way called Netflix, and that will have people curious. And maybe on Peacock, they will have more streams. But as far as television ratings here in America, I'd be surprised if it didn't go down. It does feel like the first time that you see something, we set a new record and then, it starts to fall off a little bit. So I think the curiosity factor had people who wouldn't normally be watching wrestling on a Saturday night. I mean, not only did I watch it, I had a little viewing party. I had my buddy Shuli Agar and Cassio Kidd come over. My wife Megan actually watched the show and she liked it. And we were pulling for Chelsea Green and excited for what we got to see. And I just feel like they set whatever record they're going to have for that one. And now we just follow the bouncing ball and see where it goes.
Wrong.
Well, listen, I hope I am wrong. I hope that it continues to grow. And I think a lot of that, if it does grow, it'll be at this point, we know what to expect. It's red, white, and blue, the ring ropes. We're going to have the old school canvas, the old school ring skirts. We're going to have all of that stuff sort of set up. The original guardrails, the retro graphics, the retro songs. Like, I like all of that stuff. But now that I've seen it, I mean, I was as excited for that show, Jeff, as I remember being, because I love the nostalgia lever.
See, so I guess the belt nerd in you extrapolated all the way out to ring ropes and looks and all that. So maybe, I don't know if America is more like you or more like me, because here's how I look at it. Maybe this is a topic of discussion, but for me, yes, it came out of and I guess I can hear, I don't even want to say traditionalist, your first episode of a TV show, the curiosity, and then it massively drops and moves on. I'm going to kind of go the other way and say first week of December compared to the third week of January, the HUDs are just, there's going to be more eyeballs watching TV in January as opposed to December. That I also think from a creative episodic arc that we're going to be a week, just what you said, away from the Rumble. And who knows, you may have a Cena appear. You may have a Rock appear. You may have, you know what I'm saying? More star talent. Because, the creative team and everybody in that company knows how many Saturday night main events they have coming up in the calendar year. So, how are we going to build? How are we going to top this one? How important is it to it in their ecosystem? Not saying it's unimportant, but where does it rank? WrestleMania being one and everything else follows after that. But I'm going to say it's going to be up, Conrad, based on the creative, episodic arc nature and star driven.
And let me give some high fives on some props to both WWE and NBC for figuring out when to program that. I want to remind everybody that here in America, the NFL is the 6,000 pound gorilla when it comes to television ratings.
10,000 pound.
What matches or what games will happen on January 25th? None. It's the day before the conference championships for both the AFC and the NFC. Those matches, or those games rather, happen on Sunday. So Saturday night's main event, yes, will be up against the NBA, but not the NFL. I am of the opinion that there's a lot of people who listen to this program, Jeff, and I know this isn't your experience, but they don't watch wrestling today. They're not interested in it. They don't care what happens on Raw or SmackDown or Dynamite or Collision. Not interested in it.
Yep.
They grew up watching wrestling and they still long to feel the way they did back then. I think an addict might call it chasing the dragon. We all still want to feel like we did when we watched wrestling as a kid. And that's the reason I was excited. I want the ring to look the way it used to. I want there to be a platform. I want it to sound like it used to, with the sound, with either the theme songs or the show theme itself, or Jesse Ventura there. Like, the voice of my childhood is a thing that Tony Schiavone has heard all these years. And I think if Tony Schiavone was introduced as a broadcaster to us for the first time in 2019, hey, we might like him, but we love him because we grew up with him. And I feel like that's the same thing that exists for Jesse Ventura. And I think a lot of people who are curious and maybe don't regularly watch wrestling, but remembered it as a kid. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I talk to, like my buddy Bart down at the Meat Mart. He doesn't watch WWE programming. He's an AEW guy, but he was so fired up. It was appointment television in his household. But now that I've seen it, I don't feel like I have to see it in January. Like I did a viewing party for this one. I won't do that in January. I know they're going to run great stories. I know John Cena will probably be there and The Rock may be there. And hey, that's all well and cool. I tuned into this show because I wanted to see. It's much like people have talked about maybe that first All In London. The building was kind of the star. They wanted to see, what does AEW look like in this venue? Well, what does WWE look like in a VHS in 2024? That's what I was excited to see.
And I did think about that on Saturday too, knowing that college football, for all intents and purposes, I think there was others, no disrespect, but Army Navy was the only game on.
And that was finished by then.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. So Nick Khan, it goes without saying, he's so dialed in. Joe Tessitore, his guy, and others, but they're dialed into the programming and everything that goes with it. I know on the AEW side, we have our challenges with not only the NBA, but with hockey on a consistent basis, as well as the other, we got sports all the way around in WBD. So it's funny, not funny. It's fun to talk about the programming, the counter programming, the time slot, the promotional bandwidth you have. And then you just, okay, Conrad, the curiosity part of it. I get that, but you said there's a lot of folks, and we'll get to Salvation Army in a minute, but I had a couple of folks that came up to me on Saturday here locally as I was out. Conrad, you hit the nail on the head. They literally said, I said, you don't watch AEW? Oh, I have before, but I don't watch it regular. Oh, okay. So you watch WWE? Oh, no. I said, well, what do you watch? Oh, we watch Memphis tapes, and I like Texas, and I watch in Florida. I said, you watch the old stuff? Oh, yeah. He said, I don't know how many times I've seen that angle with Bill Dundee and Buddy Landell. And do you remember when Dutch carried you out? Was he really in the shower? And I'm just going, this one gentleman had a list of questions, not literally written out, but off the top of his head, wanting to know, hey, that Kamala deal I've heard, was that really Bill Dundee's farm? No, it wasn't. Was it Law? No, that's my dad's. Oh, really? Where was that? Oh, about a half a mile down the road. You got to be kidding. Anyway, Conrad, the curiosity, that's all in the mind. Your mind went down. Oh, Conrad, there's a seminar on sales in this, and somehow how to create that
expectations, anticipation.
Anticipation is the word. They sold you on, but not but you went to great lengths. I'm shocked Megan watched.
Yeah, she watched. I mean, like, we went and bought steaks and potatoes and grilled out and made cocktails, and Megan sat on the couch. I thought for sure she'd recuse herself and go to the living room or something, but no, she was in there, man. We all wanted to see, like, hey, what is this going to look like? What is this going to feel like? And
wow,
now we know, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that sort of replica or retro brand. Speaking of replicas, boy, they sold a shit ton of belts this weekend. They promoted that they were bringing back for one night only the Winged Eagle, and of course the same guy who brought us back the classic Intercontinental title years ago. Well, now he brought us the Winged Eagle. I'm talking about the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. I saw some fans online who were upset that he didn't wear an actual old WWF championship. Guys, it's a television special on NBC. It doesn't mean that they can undermine the law and the settlement that happened 22 years ago. They can't have a WWF logoed thing on television. So I knew all along, without even asking anybody, it's going to have to be a WW replica. Now, it could have been re-leathered and it could have been real plates, but they can't have the old logo on the show, guys. And only like 100 people in the world probably even give a shit about that. But all I could think was, man, how smart this is, especially right here before Christmas, to come out and promote this as a way to sell those belts. And I don't know if you saw, Jeff, but they made sure that they had the codester sit down and sign a bunch of them, and they're going to make it an exclusive through, as we're recording on Monday night, through tonight, so they can plug it again on Raw. And that's one of the things that Eric Bischoff says has attracted him about wrestling from the very beginning, that it really is like an infomercial. It's just direct to consumer marketing. Your dad really mastered that before your dad started writing television. Television or wrestling on television was just what we would normally do at the arena, except now we'll set up a camera for it. Your dad doesn't get enough credit for this, but he's the one who actually wrote matches and programming for television. That didn't exist before your dad. And Eric Bischoff fell in love with that and has been a junkie ever since, because he just understands and loves and appreciates the psychology of selling and salesmanship and just marketing. And I thought WWE doing this as a way to sell replica belts, my goodness, what a home run. Right, Jeff?
Oh, boy. I know me and you specifically could go down so many roads. But the infomercial, I've had that discussion with so many folks through the years. And in the early part of my career, it was essentially a cut and paste verbatim from the speech my father would give me to help me kind of help understand. I mean, down to, I saw a clip online. There's that I still call it Twitter, the X account that shows old Memphis stuff and this and that. But you know, the enhancement match, we call them job matches. But my dad would, I mean, he would be such a stickler with guys and say, "You mean you're not wearing your ring jacket out there on Saturday morning?" "Oh no, it's just a TV quick enhancement match." He goes, "But no, don't you get it? This is your time to go sell. I'm selling you as a product. I'm, you know, all this." Like every second that our content airs is all about the infomercial on how do you monetize and create revenue out of it. And now that's over into all forms of social media. Wow, Conrad, and I'm going back. You said they're going to push it through. So a 72-hour window to sell. But no, it is, I don't say it's the reason, but it's up there. You know, you have so many different forms of revenue. The business of the professional wrestling business is fascinating and ever changing. And that is something that evolves every day. I don't know where you want me to go with that, Conrad, but the merch, but you know, your television show is by design. You're getting them. Well, not getting them. Your character development is all about the infomercial. How are you going to get the people to come back the next week and the next week? Jesus, we talked about Yellowstone. That you gave me that Kevin Costner story, and him getting in the. Well, I'm paraphrasing, but you know, getting in the genre that was taking away market share, or was it? Were they just a pissing contest? I know that doesn't make sense, folks, as I'm going on to a conversation me and Conrad had. But anyhow, fascinating stuff, pal.
Saturday night's main event is in the rearview mirror. I was really surprised that they did the post-match angle, and it didn't make air. We saw them strap up Cody after the broadcast ended. We saw a package pile driver from Kevin Owens onto Cody Rhodes. He gets strapped down, and then Owens stands on him, holds up the Winged Eagle Championship, and carries it to the back. And along the way, gets into a shoving match with Triple H. This has got everybody sort of curious. Are we going to see more of that? I think a lot of people assume, oh, well, they're going to do something on January 6th on Netflix. And other people say, oh, no, that's clearly going to be the match at the Royal Rumble. I, for one, hope that they bring back the big blue cage and we see Kevin Owens and Cody inside the confines of the big blue cage at that Saturday night's main event from San Antonio on the 25th. It makes sense to set up whatever happened at this Saturday night's main event for the next one, to me, what say you, Jeff?
It's all subjective, pal. But why are you surprised that didn't make air?
Well, I mean, listen, nothing of consequence happened on the show. Chelsea won the United States Championship, but if I'm showing this program to a new audience, and there's a lot of people who are watching wrestling for the first time in a long time, I think I would want to give them a reason to watch. Like, when that show was over, I didn't say to myself, I can't wait to see what they do on Raw. I can't wait to see what they're doing next on SmackDown. So if you're going to do that, it makes sense to me that you would have whatever that angle is happen right then, and then have Triple H announce, no, we're going to do it again. We're going to have a rematch, blah, blah, blah. And I know that they got plenty of time, but I don't know that if I'm watching that program that I got really pumped about watching Monday Night Raw tonight.
Okay. So, but it gets into tomato, because they went off the air with their champion. Was that the Meltzer tweet or whoever the post is, the baby face that rarely gets beat, that always wins. And you got to see, and I think Chelsea winning, that's a consequential, it's a brand new, and you got to see talent. Like the opening episode of Saturday night's main event, you had the people over at the house. I don't think anybody went away saying that show sucked. Did they, Conrad? Was anybody disappointed in your group? I don't think so. But with that being said, they did the little post-show scrum and all that, and that dominated the news cycle. And in the world we live in, it depends on how much bandwidth you give to social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I give a boatload. So I think the buzz going into the Raw is partially what they did on SmackDown, and partially what they did on Saturday night's main event, and partially what they did last week on Raw. And also, we're in December, so we're going to take it for what it's worth. And there's 2 football games on tonight, and Raw's going to keep building, but they're going to ride that roller coaster up. And by Mania time or Rumble time or the premium live event in between that, they'll be hitting on all cylinders. And I just think it's the episodic nature. Years ago, Conrad, we would have our angles at TV, right? And we would, go down to the Coliseum, if we're talking Memphis, and have our match on Monday and whatever it may be. But if we wanted to do a little, my dad called them spice ups, then we would take the camera to whatever spot show we were doing on Thursday or Friday, and we would, whatever the storyline was, we would shoot just a little bit of a scrum, or this happened or that happened. And then Saturday morning's television show would open up, and you would say, hey, Thursday night in Tupelo, Mississippi, an altercation took place. Matter of fact, our cameras were there. Roll the tape. So then you roll it, and then you have another beat to tell the story. To me, that's exactly what social media is now. It's kind of that extra beat, and they may or may not go anywhere with Triple H with it, but it's another beat. And my God, the amount of views and clicks and likes and all that kind of bandwidth they got off of everything they did. It's just the beauty of the business. They sold a lot of belts, got a lot of views, and now the churn of creating more content rolls on.
I, for one, was excited to see the Winged Eagle back, and I was hoping that Kevin Owens would smash it with a hammer like Mr. Perfect did. Maybe we'll see that in the Big Blue Cage at the next Saturday night's main event. Did you have a favorite Saturday night's main event moment when you were growing up, Jeff?
Oh, boy. I was hoping you would ask that. I tell you what, you go first and I'll go. Did you have one?
Listen, I know it was technically the main event and not Saturday night's main event, but the twin Hebner referee thing. That's hard to beat, man.
1988. So I'm wrestling. That's that was March. So almost right at my 2-year anniversary. We did a spot show. We did a spot show in Arkansas. And so whatever, the matches get over at 9:30 or 10. But Conrad, Randy Hales, if I remember correctly, he set his VHS to record before he left the house. But we got back there in time because we rushed right back there. It was only like 30 minutes, 40 minutes from Jonesboro, whatever. I remember watching that. And I like to say I was smart to the business, but how smart can you be really 2 years into it? But look, and I knew the territories existed and everything, but I had no context of who Dave Hebner was, Earl Hebner was, just nothing. Like, I never saw that story, that angle going. I'm tuned in to see Hogan Andre and the pomp and circumstance, and it's on primetime television. And during that time, I've ebbed and flowed through the years on my fandom of Saturday Night Live. Some seasons are great, some seasons are just totally passable, but hell, they've been on the air as long as wrestling has, or not quite as long. But anyhow, Conrad, that angle and that execution, and I know we're in a different time and you've got angles, it's a Sportatorium or Channel 5 or Raw, Nitro, Dynamite, Thunder, all the different programs, and everything has different settings, and just the Asylum and Impact Zone and all yada, yada, yada. But that setting and those announcers and the way it was sold, that was it's you talk about a moment that is etched in my brain, because like, son of a, and I'm supposed to be smart to the business, like, son of a bitch, they got us. It was good. That will forever go down as that's the top 5 angle. It just historic, done the right way. I wonder what Meltzer gave it as far as the star rating.
Terrible, terrible, terrible ratings.
No.
I do want to mention, I love that the Mega Powers, I guess, sort of unofficially formed on Saturday night's main event as well, back in '87, when the Honky Tonk Man and the Hart Foundation had outnumbered the Macho Man Randy Savage. He'd historically been a heel, but he's protecting his lovely wife, Miss Elizabeth, or his girlfriend at the time, I guess, in storyline. And then here comes Hulk Hogan to make the save. Well, that creates the Mega Powers. And then there's the errant bump that takes Miss Elizabeth out. And then there's the live breakup and fight. I mean, there's just so many great moments around my fandom, and Hulk Hogan's a big part. He was not on the program at all. He wasn't even on the intro video. I didn't notice that at the time. That's when my guests were arriving, so I missed some of it. I heard it, but I didn't get to see it. But then I saw online afterwards people saying, yeah, he wasn't on it at all. But we saw Coco Beware, and we saw Greg Valentine, and we saw lots of great stars from yesteryear. I mean, even Jimmy Hart was there.
I love it.
But no Hulk Hogan. Did it feel weird to you for Hulk Hogan not to be there?
And maybe the short answer is no, because my mind immediately went to kind of what we're talking about, the NBA and how Hulk's gotten very political. And
I see.
Is that an NBC call and not an Endeavor call?
I see.
I have no idea, but I mean, they sell a lot of Hulk merch, correct? Endeavor does
a shit ton of merch, and he was synonymous with Saturday night's main event. And let me just say in a loud and clear voice, if you are not a fan of or in favor of Hulk Hogan being on Saturday night's main event, you should go fuck yourself with our sponsor, Blue Chew. Blue Chew can get your ding dong so hard it might actually reach. It's an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. You sign up for BlueChew.com. You consult with one of their licensed medical providers. And once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA. They're prepared and shipped directly to your door. And the best part is it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Take them anytime, day or night. So plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. And Jeff Jarrett tells me he calls this like a hot tag for his wiener. I mean, imagine if Blue Chew was around back in the days of Memphis. I mean, wrestlers from all over the world wanted to come to that territory, and it wasn't for the payoffs. Let me just say that. Blue Chew wants men rock hard. That's what they told me. That's the mission. They won't stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house, until every tent is pitched, until every rod is raised. Discover your options right now at bluechew.com. And boy, we've got a special deal for our audience. Try Blue Chew free. Just pay $5 shipping at checkout when you visit bluechew.com. That's bluechew.com to receive your first month free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring My World with Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, inquiring minds want to know, when you fire off a Blue Chew, can you make it reach?
What?
Never mind. What were you saying?
I had a question for you, pal. You just threw me way off. Saturday night was Saturday night's main event. That kind of is obvious. And
yep.
You told Cassio, get out. You told the man Shuley, you don't got to go home, but you can't stay here. After seeing that winged eagle, did you need a Blue Chew?
No, I was bricked up like a brick house. Didn't need it.
That winged eagle just set you to a whole nother level, didn't it? Kind of like that GIF you sent me the other day. You was just a spinning and a spinning and a spinning.
You didn't respond to that, but tell me that wasn't funny. Evansville, Ricky and Robert, 1983.
Right. I couldn't come up with an emoji to do it enough justice, so I just said I'll bring it up at some point.
But you know, if we know anything about Ricky and Robert, it's that they were tag team specialists. Ladies and gentlemen, we are excited that we're here today. We've been rambling on for an hour, and we are just days away from a really big AEW Dynamite. If you haven't already, make plans to check out Dynamite tomorrow night. I think they're calling this the Holiday Bash. The Dynamite Holiday Bash is here. Let's take a look at some of the matches and what we will see this Wednesday night. The Continental Classic continues in the Gold League when Will Ospreay, who a lot of people have believed is the best wrestler in the world, is going to be taking on Darby Allin, who is without question one of the biggest stars in AEW. And man, what a heck of a nice guy he is as well. This is going to be a crazy match, man. We hear all the time in UFC, styles make fights. What do you think about Darby Allin and Will Ospreay? Who do you got?
You nailed it. Styles make fights. The Daredevil versus the ultra athlete. It is not a slam dunk that, as the kids call it, this isn't a slam dunk banger. Both of them better come with not only their A game, but kind of a mindset, a mental think through, because the expectations for this match are at a premium. So how are both guys going to be showcased in a proper way, if that makes sense? Will Powell, I like to call him backstage when I see him around. Sometimes I call him Willie Goat, because I do think he is, man, oh man, that guy can do some incredible stuff. Good luck to him, both of them.
It's going to be a fun night. It's not only that match, but we've got a whole lot more. We've also got Mercedes Moné taking on Anna Jay for the TBS Championship. And big fan of Anna Jay in my household. But Mercedes Moné, she had what a lot of people are calling the best women's match of the year over the weekend for New Japan. What do you expect? Can Anna Jay get her hand raised?
She won't get her hand raised. Wednesday would be if I'm a betting man. But Mercedes, her pay-per-view match last month. God, has it already been a month already? Feels like it. And then, off the event this weekend. So Mercedes on a roll as far as in-ring performance. And I don't think Wednesday's going to be any different.
Shelton Benjamin is going to be in action in the Continental Classic. He'll be taking on the Beast Mortos. The Beast Mortos has racked up 0 points so far. But if you're really watching wrestling like a pro wrestler would, they would tell you, hey, he's one of the unsung heroes of every match he's in. Shelton Benjamin, though, David Crockett's favorite. I don't know if I've told you this before on the air, but Crockett called me so excited the day after Shelton Benjamin made his in-ring debut for AEW and told me that, man, this young whippersnapper, this young upstart Shelton Benjamin if Tony Khan will really get behind him, he could be the face of AEW for the next 20 years. That guy, man, they just got to keep working with him because he's so good and so young. He had no idea that, as a friend of mine would say, black don't crack. My man's been wrestling on TV for more than 20 years.
South Carolina.
What do you expect in this Blue League matchup? Shelton Benjamin and the Beast Mortos. Can the Beast turn it around? Can he get a win over Shelton Benjamin, or is Shelton just too good?
Shelton is damn good, but Shelton has made a career out of making others' career. We're going to see kind of what happens. I do think they have the show stealer spot of the night. That Shelton's that good. And we've talked ad nauseum at how good Beast Mortis is.
Just a week before Christmas, this Wednesday night in Washington, D.C., we're going to hear from MJF, a real turd human being, and he's going to be here with a live microphone in his hand, fresh off of a surprise that happened this past weekend down in Florida. QT Marshall was supposed to be wrestling against MJF when all of a sudden Big Boom AJ, that's right, one half of the Costco guys, shows up and went nose to nose with MJF. He's one of the most viral TikTokers in all the land. And now he's going nose to nose with another New Jersey native, MJF. Did you see this over the weekend? What did you make of this? What do you expect to hear from Max on Wednesday?
I saw this. Was that cardio yesterday that I got in before the games? Church, or was it this morning? Yeah, I saw that. I wasn't expecting MJF to be there, and I damn sure wasn't expecting AJ to show up. I'm still gonna step out there and stand on business. I'm looking for Rizzler to take his ass down with a guitar shot.
I'd love to see that. I mean, if we can get the Rizzler around, he deserves a guitar necklace, and I know you're just the man to give it to him. All of that is happening as you're listening to this tomorrow night, live from DC. Tickets are on sale now, AEWTIX.com, or just do what I'm doing and be sure to fire up that Turner station. I do want to ask you about something else that's come out since we've been recording this morning. Triple H, who made sure to, when we debuted the Saturday night's main event set, he made sure that he was there front and center. Post-match, after the Cody match with Kevin Owens, Triple H made sure that we knew that he's not going to take any Kevin Owens bullshit, and he was front and center. And now we've introduced the new Raw logo with a little video announcing the debut of Raw on Netflix. It has a new logo. Who better to introduce that to us than, once again, Triple H? He's in the old Vince McMahon spot. It's live on Netflix. What do you make of the new Raw logo? I saw in the comments that, hey, man, my dad's got that logo on the front of his truck. It does look just like Ram, except with the M upside down. What do you think of the new logo after all these years? We're getting a new Monday Night Raw logo, Jeff.
When did that come out?
Today, since we've clicked record.
Oh, I was just like, I hadn't seen that. Mr. Silva, throw that up there one more time. And I have, Conrad, if you only knew the amount of hours I've looked at pay-per-view logos, show logos, wrestling name logos, T-shirt logos. It's just, it is very, very important. You know, the thing I like the most out of that is the live.
Yeah.
That jumps off the page. The Raw, there's so many certain different ways you can do it in this. And I mean, look, I'm fine with it. I do see where the Dodge Ram is actually, that'll be the memes and all that kind of stuff. I love the live that jumped off the page. So I'll give that a thumbs up review.
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when we see Raw on Netflix. I know that first episode is going to be in LA. You got to think The Rock's going to be there, John Cena, and a whole host of others. They're going to roll out the red carpet.
How long will it be episodically?
More than 2 hours, and The Rock's going to say the F word on the very first episode.
Okay.
It is going to be interesting too, because this will be the first time that we've ever had a live broadcast globally. And I know here in America, all we've talked about for more than 25 years is the head-to-head on domestic ratings. We're never going to really know exactly how many people are watching. I'm sure when they set new records, they'll come out and puff their chest out and tell us about it. But to have this program be piped out live globally It's going to be interesting. It's a whole new ball game. It feels like the game is changing, pardon the pun, and we'll see more about that in January. But before we get there, we've got to get through Christmas. And I want to remind everybody that one of the things we're going to do in the new year is get together for what we call Top Guy Rumble. It's going down in Huntsville at the end of January. And here's the way the cookie has crumbled. AEW is going to be doing both a Dynamite and a Collision inside in the same building where you first debuted TNA, the Huntsville Von Braun Civic Center. That's happening on Wednesday. A friend of ours, Cassio Kidd, is working on putting together a little fun activity with maybe a little comedy flair on Thursday. But then on Friday, we're doing something pretty special. We're creating like a wrestling fantasy camp. Not only that, but we're actually going to book a show. We're going to put together a show and decide who wrestles who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, who wins, who loses. Is there a tournament? Is it tag matches? We don't know. It's up to you. And you get to decide, do you want to be the referee? Do you want to be the ring announcer? Do you want to do commentary? Would you like to be a manager? Do you want to take a bump? And who better than to get you ready for all that than one of our coaches for the fantasy camp? Let's take a look.
Top Guy Rumble for ad-free shows is coming up in January, heading to Huntsville, Alabama, and taking place at the famous Von Braun Center. Returning events include the Top Guy Tussle, where top guys can help book the matches and then take on roles in the show. The game event with Efren for a chance to win fabulous prizes. We'll gather together for the Royal Rumble watch-along with fellowship and fun and surprises along the way. And one of the big events returning to Top Guy Rumble will be the Fantasy Camp. And joining us this time around as our trainer will be a multi-time champion in many promotions, an ECW legend, and a much-respected producer and coach with All Elite Wrestling. It's Jerry Lynn. It's a weekend that a wrestling fan dreams about, and it becomes a reality this January for AFS Top Guy members. Become a Top Guy member and be a part of Top Guy Rumble 2025.
If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Go check it out, adfreeshows.com. Jeff, you've been in there with everybody. You've been around the business forever and ever. When you were first building the X Division and trying to explain to people what the hell the X Division was, you leaned on one guy more than most to help put those together with some international talent, with some green guys who had a lot of athleticism, but maybe didn't have the in-ring experience. And you didn't look any further than Jerry Lynn. He's going to be our trainer that weekend. What a great pick that is, right?
Oh, man. When I heard that, at the end of the day, put your money where your mouth is. I put my money on Jerry Lynn. The debut episode of TNA, AJ Styles and Low Key and other names. But yes, and Jerry is keeping on. And, you know, to the Top Guy weekend, Conrad, it's hard for me to do first, but when we did that right up the road, that little where'd we have it in that
Rocket City Championship Wrestling in Hazel Green, Alabama.
In Hazel Green, I was trying to think of that. Look, but that experience, not just for the ad-free members, but for me, that was kind of magic before our very eyes. Kevin Sullivan up there, Crockett, just kind of how all that went down was super cool. And to see us talk about it and kind of formulate it and then it to be produced, we created magic and then it was cool. That was really, it's an awesome idea. I'll just say that.
You can still join us. Go become an annual Top Guy right now at adfreeshows.com. And that's where you'll find out that it's a whole lot more than just this one event. It's an entire community that you get to be a part of. We've got a live studio audience from Ad Free Shows right now. And they can also join us for live interactions and conversations and Q&As and watch-alongs with Lex Luger and The Godfather and David Crockett and Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick and Tully Blanchard and Sam Adonis and Downtown Bruno and so many more. More than 100,000 hours of bonus content, more than you can shake a stick at. Go become an annual member, a Top Guy right now, and make plans to join us at Wrestling Fantasy Camp. Make plans to join and participate in your first wrestling show, Top Guy Tussle. And then there's nothing like watching the Royal Rumble where there's games associated with it. Just like the wrestlers draw a number, you're going to draw a number. And if your guy wins, what happens? I don't want to give a spoiler right now, but this is the biggest gift we've ever had. Coach Rosie's with us here live, Jeff, and he wants to know, are you going to be there? Are you going to be joining us for Top Guy Weekend, Jeff?
I got to get the official invite. Matter of fact, I'm just reading and texting back and forth about getting the ring in place. So, Coach Rosie, I'm going to bust your ass up in this ring that I'm making sure it's going to be there for the weekend.
You're not going to believe this, but over the weekend, I recorded with David Crockett. And do you know that he told me he knows where there's still a JCP ring? A ring that was used in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s.
See?
He knows where it is. And I'm like, can you help me get that? And he goes, well, I think I can. So as you're working on a ring right now, he's working on bringing an actual JCP ring.
That's cool.
I don't know if that can happen. I mean, but if that can happen, think about the history. Like Andre the Giant would have wrestled in that ring.
Yeah. Oh,
Ric Flair would have wrestled in that ring. Dusty Rhodes would have wrestled in that ring.
Horseman. Because think about that's cool. That's really
I hope it happens. I hope you'll join us.
You're going to weld it. You're going to be auctioning off pieces. I'm kidding. I can't wait to see you monetize a piece of steel.
You know what else he's got that he told me? He's got the Nitro canvas from the last Nitro. The last one ever.
So you may give you a little Nitro. That is awesome.
You know what I was thinking immediately? Same as you right now, but continue.
So first TNA show, right?
Yep.
We're out there and the ring's set up and, the bike rails, but we're loading it all in and everything. And it is on a couple of the episodes, but the mats that went around the ring for the first TNA show and many after that, if you pull them up and look on the other side, there's the flames. They were old Nitro mats.
That's pretty fun.
Did you know that?
No, you've told me that before, but I didn't know that night when I was there because I was at the event that night. I had no idea.
Some talent did that. I'm like, oh my God. Don't show that.
Do you know who else was there at that very first TNA show? I just heard this past week. Corey Graves. Corey Graves was at your first TNA show right up the road from me at the VBC. He was booked as an extra, just trying to get on. It didn't happen, but he was in the VBC that night. Corey Graves, the voice of WWE, was at your first TNA show.
I'll be damned.
Sam Adonis told me that. I couldn't believe that.
Hello, me and Corey have had a lot of fun.
Well, we're going to have a lot of fun and hope you guys will join us. Adfreeshows.com is where it is. Jeff, this is the holiday season, and we are just about a week away from Christmas as folks are listening to this. Next Wednesday is Christmas Day, and historically, we've always heard that Christmas night used to be a really big night in professional wrestling. And I cruised on over to cagematch.net and found that you worked on Christmas night in 88, 89, and 02, at least. There may have been others. Okay. There's records of those matches on Cage Match, including when you were at the Tennessee State Fairgrounds on December 25th, 2002. You picked up a win over Ron Harris. That would have been just 6 months into your TNA run. You also ran an event or were at an event at the Sportatorium. That's right. Christmas night, 1989 in Dallas at the Sportatorium. You beat Billy Travis.
My gosh.
And on Christmas night, 1988, there was a tag team known as Beauty and the Beast. And they picked up a win over Jeff Jarrett and Tracy Smothers at the Fairground Sports Arena in Nashville. That same night, you were in I don't know how many man battle royal, but other names in there like Bill Dundee, Beauty, Brian Lee, Dutch Mantel, Grim Reaper 1 and 2, Jeff Jarrett, Jimmy Golden, Mike Davis, Ricky Morton, Robert Fuller, Scott Steiner, Sid Vicious, The Beast, Todd Morton, Tommy Lane, Tracy Smothers, and Wendell Cooley. So you wrestled on Christmas night in 88 in Nashville, in 89 in Dallas, and then against your pal Ron Harris in 2002. Does any of that ring a bell? Does any of that stand out to you?
Well, if you would have told me, and look, I know we're both saying Cage Match may not have them all, but I felt like I worked for the first 7 years. Look, Thanksgiving's a different holiday, just the way it falls because of the Thursday. Every Thursday when Christmas rotates. But I felt like I worked Christmas shows and Thanksgiving shows and look, the Christmas shows, obviously, if it was, I just remember the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, those 3 days, but we had to run them because it was the weekly contract and all that. So, that's part of the business. You work pretty much all holidays, and you did the TV and did the bicycle, and other than Christmas Eve, you didn't really take time off. But yes, I remember we always, and that's why it's, a little bit different nowadays, but I bet things come back. I mean, this year, Steelers and Chiefs are on Christmas Day, the Netflix games. But yeah, I always enjoyed the holidays because people wanted to get out of the house and family. And, for years, Thanksgiving, you did an afternoon show and an evening show. So, man, oh man, I bet there were some folks not real happy. You said I worked a Dallas show in '89. So if you work in Nashville in '88, I could probably spend the morning at home. You can't do that for Dallas. So unless I flew down that morning, but anyhow, I do, Conrad. So that means we ran a TNA show on a Christmas Day. That's part of the entertainment business. You work on holidays, but always fun.
Believe it or not, that wasn't a TSA show. It was a USACW, USA Championship Wrestling. Is that Burt Prentice?
Yeah. So what year?
That's 02. So you had Chris Vaughn and Rick Santel against Anthony Ingram and Corey Williams.
Okay.
Justin Sane and Lenny Lane against the Victory Twins. April Pennington and Eric Andrews against Athena, Hot Dog Biggs, and Lollipop. Big Bully Douglas over Mark Jaguar. Humongous over Bart Sawyer. And then in the main event, and this makes sense, Jeff Jarrett and Ron Harris. But that wasn't a TNA show. It was USACW.
Okay, so Bert leaned on us and said, hey, because the first year, and I think we've covered this in TNA, he actually held an agreement, the contract with the Nashville Fairgrounds, because we took over his old contract. I think he had signed like a year deal or a 2-year deal with him. Yeah, and so he probably said, hey, yeah, but you need to work Christmas for me. And I'm sure it did pretty well. I'm sure it did great on merch. I can assure you that if Bert was in the house, he monetized it.
When you take a look back at the history of wrestling on Christmas night, it was always big through the territories. Like even in 1978, Andre the Giant and Dusty Rhodes won the U.S. Tag Team titles, beating Stan Hansen and Ernie Ladd in the finals of a one-night tournament. We would also see Kevin Von Erich win the American title for the first time, beating Bruiser Brody. I know that the following year at 79, the Briscoes beat the Masked Superstar and Austin Idol in Georgia. We would even see in Knoxville on Christmas night. Think about this, 1979, Bullet Bob Armstrong beat some nothing happening guy named Sterling Golden for the NWA Southern Heavyweight Championship title. That's Bob Armstrong, Road Dogg's dad, beating Hulk Hogan in Knoxville on Christmas night in 79. 79.
Okay, so when did he go to Vern next year?
I don't know.
Yeah. So, wow.
In 1980, he was called Hulk Hogan, though, because the AWA ran a show where Nick Bockwinkel would beat Billy Robinson. And on the undercard, it was Ken Patera and Bobby Duncombe beating Hulk Hogan and Tito Santana. I think most people point to 1982, though, in Dallas, Texas. Ric Flair and Kerry Von Erich in a cage match. That's the match and the angle that led to the Freebirds and the Von Erich feud. Is that probably the most important Christmas night show, do you think, in history?
I mean, look, in every territory, it was their biggest night. I'm sure we could probably look up a big Lawler or a Lawler Dundee, a big feud and all that. But as far as the legend and the lore and the angle that was shot to make money coming out of it, Conrad, I would be very, very hard pressed unless we really dig into the research. I don't think there's even a close second, because when you think about the heyday of WCCW, when you really, to me, think about the heyday of the Von Erichs, it's synonymous with Michael and Terry and Buddy and the Freebirds and the Von Erichs and everything that goes with it. Like I said, I don't think there's even a close second. And that's the angle. Correct me if I'm wrong. That set it off, right?
Yep.
Kerry, they had built and built and built for the world title. Yeah. I mean, I just think that
they carried it to the next year, Jeff, not to cut you off, but the next year, Christmas night, it was Kevin and Mike beating Terry, Gordy, and Buddy Roberts in a loser leaves town match. So they got it kicked off Christmas of 82, and Christmas 83 was the loser leaves match.
See that? I mean, that's it. You know, a lot of money was drawn, a lot of tickets sold in that year. God Almighty! But I'm still going back to '79. The Hawkster is putting over Bullet in Knoxville as what I'm saying is as Sterling Golden.
Yes.
A year later, Hawk. The seeds were being sown because there was another clip the other day online of him working Terry Funk. That was like 85 Saturday night main event.
That's right. Second one.
Look, and the Hulkster, and I'm sure Terry said, Hulkster, put on your working boots. But just kind of, wow, that's a 3 to 5 short years. He went from Sterling Golden to the most recognizable box office attraction in the history of the business. It's pretty amazing.
I know that in 91, there was a WCW show in Atlanta with Lex Luger, who was the world champion, beating Rick Steiner in the main event. They had the tag team champions, Ricky Steamboat and Dustin Rhodes, beating Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton in a 2 out of 3 falls match. But maybe the biggest, most notable thing that happened in WCW on Christmas night is Jushin Liger pinning Brian Pillman to win the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship. But it feels like from that point forward, wrestling on Christmas night was no longer as big of a deal. I know that in 95, Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Jim Cornette, put out a pretty special card called Christmas Chaos, where you got Cactus Jack teaming with Tracy Smothers to take on Candido and Boo Bradley in a Falls Count Anywhere match. But it was the Rock and Roll Express one last time against New Jack and Mustafa to win the Smoky Mountain Tag Team titles. But it does feel like when the territories went away, so did wrestling on Christmas night. Is that kind of fair to say?
Yeah, because it morphed into, and look, we're last 15 minutes we've talked about Christmas night, but I just look, you kind of take the good with the bad, the territory, because it morphed into the week between Christmas and New Year's. And look, the WWE still this day, but man, you talk about historically speaking, and I know this is a little before my time, the double shots that were run if things fell right on Saturday and Sunday, and even that week, lots and lots of tickets have been sold, historically speaking. So, Conrad, it went from the big show on Christmas to the Christmas week run of shows that led up to New Year's Eve day.
It's always been a big time in professional wrestling, and this year Dynamite is going to be here, man. I can't believe it, but Christmas falls on a Wednesday. Of course, it's not going to be live; it is going to be taped. But what's the best use of Santa Claus you remember seeing? Like, I know we've seen Mick Foley break out the Santa stuff before, and I know that once upon a time Alberto Del Rio may or may not have ran over Santa. But I also know that Stone Cold Steve Austin, man, he was hitting a stunner on Santa. What was the best use of Santa that you remember in pro wrestling?
Guys, you know what? They all, when you talk about turkey suits, I think of Danny Engler, PKA, referee Rudy Charles, but no, Santa. Well, and look, I don't have any one instance, but in the territories days, we like to get our mileage out of it. So, and Lawler had no problem booking Santa Claus versus, and whoever was chosen as Santa Claus, Santa probably worked twice that night. Once as whoever he really was, and then he came back as Santa. But Santa has had quite a few matches in the history of USWA or CWA at the time. But kind of, it's hard for me to think of just one Santa instance. I just would chuckle that when you would see on a window bill, a card in your insert, first match, second match, third match, fourth match. Oh, and your special attraction tonight, Santa Claus versus fill in the blank as a heel. And I would think, what would the little kids in the audience think? Is he's going to come wrestle and then go back to the North Pole and I'll see you in a few days? I don't know. Good old professional wrestling, Connie.
Back in the day, Jeff, based on the rumor and innuendo, what you were hearing, were payoffs better on Christmas night?
Oh, yeah. No, that's like, even in the territory days, but certainly the, I can't remember any big WCW runs on Christmas week, but the payoffs that came out of, and it's still as of late, it was East Coast and West Coast. And if you got the East Coast run, it would be Boston Garden, Madison Square Garden, a Chicago, a Detroit, and maybe a Philly, 5 of the biggest markets. And the West Coast, you for sure, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, probably a Phoenix. I don't know, one more, but you would get 5 straight days of big payoffs. So you definitely want it on those cards.
By the way, the day after Christmas has always done pretty well too. I know that Madison Square Garden around Christmas time was always a staple for Vince McMahon and the WWF.
Always.
But you actually found yourself wrestling against Marty Jannetty the day after Christmas in Saginaw, Michigan, back in 1993. And you had a European title match with a guitar on a pole against X-Pac, who was the European champion, at the Rosemont Horizon the day after Christmas, 1998.
Okay.
Even back in 88 and 90, you were working at the Mid-South Coliseum. It was Beauty and the Beast against you and Tracy Smothers in 88, the day after Christmas. And come 1990, it was you and Alan Martin. You picked up a win over Alan Martin at the Mid-South Coliseum. It's interesting to think about, wrestling on Christmas night. And it does make me wonder, did anybody have a problem working on Christmas? Like, was there any pushback from any talent that you remember where guys were just sort of bah humbug about the whole experience?
Lawler was never a fan of actually working or running shows on the actual Christmas day. But, my father had different thoughts. But I think Lawler, for the most part, I'm sure there's plenty that he worked. But, it was there's always kind of some folks that weren't the biggest fans of it, whether it's territory or once things went national. But, I didn't even really I never gave it a second thought, because I just, whether it was my grandmother, Teeny, Christine, it was business. And I'm, grandfather, Eddie Marlin, and my dad, it was just, that is what we did. And we always, whether we would have a Christmas dinner on a different off night or a Thanksgiving dinner, that's just kind of how things were navigated. And I know that is so foreign today to a lot of folks, but life changes, the business changes.
Do you think your Christmas night audiences were mostly families, or were there still single women who attended the matches?
Now, it was a big, look, and I always kind of go back to either Nashville or Louisville, and I guess Memphis to another degree but families, because people are in from out of town, and I can remember sometimes during the Christmas week, way back in the day, raised prices $1 because it was a big, $25,000 battle royal and bringing in this talent, and the card would be a little bit loaded up. So there was more money there, but I'd say the demos would go up considerably with the family audience coming in.
Well, we hope you guys get to spend some time with your family this week. It's going to be it's an interesting time of the year because it feels like a lot of the world is getting ready for next year, and they're making their plans for 2025. And we hope you'll make your plans to join us at Top Guy Weekend at adfreeshows.com. I also hope that you're not waiting to make saving money a New Year's resolution. I can help you get a jump start on that right now, especially if you find yourself with more month at the end of the money. Go right now to savewithconrad.com. How's this for starters? No house payments until March. You don't have to make your January or your February payment. You're done until March 1st. And come March 1st, you're going to have a much cheaper payment. We're routinely helping our podcast listeners consolidate all of their high interest rate credit cards and get a much cheaper payment. Check this out. We just got a 5-star review from Catherine. She says, Save with Conrad and the Supreme Lending team have helped our family. I appreciate their honesty and how they listen to the needs of their clients. We've used them twice now for home refinancing and have been so pleased with their service. That's what it's all about. Helping people save money and accomplish those goals, both short-term and long-term. And if you're feeling stuck making minimum payments with your credit card debt, you're not alone. America's in more credit card debt than ever before. And if you're getting fearful because you maybe put Christmas on a credit card, well, don't get stressed out. Don't make a New Year's resolution to save money. Do it right now with my family at savewithconrad.com. It's no cost. It's no obligation. And if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. That's savewithconrad.com. Jeff, whenever I think about the holiday season, I usually think about you because I know that you've got something that's near and dear to your heart, something you're pretty passionate about. And we don't talk about it a ton here on the show, but if anybody's been following you on social media for the last decade, they've seen it. You are one of those kettle warriors out there for Salvation Army. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity to sort of talk about what you're doing with Salvation Army.
Oh, it is definitely near and dear to my heart. This time of year, growing up, Conrad, the thing that came to my mind when I would hear, or I'll just say it, see the bell ringers of Salvation Army with their red outfits on, and they're standing outside. Back when I was growing up, it would be the local grocery store or the mall. And you just kind of go, what the heck are those people doing over there? It was just kind of I'll say a stigma, and I just didn't really dial into it. Well, several years ago, early in my journey of recovery, I became affiliated, became aware of it, and really dug in. And I have had a relationship with the Salvation Army for some time now. I sit on the advisory board for the Middle Tennessee chapter. And, Conrad, we've had a couple of conversations, and I don't like to press it on people because I understand, this time of year, it's not just tough on some people. It is, man. It's Save with Conrad. You run out of month before you run out of money before you run out of month, as you guys say. So I get it. It's very, very tough. But when I really dug in and peeled the layers of the onion back on just what Salvation Army does, I have become really attracted, and I do everything I possibly can do. This past Saturday, I was at the Kroger right by my house, and we were out there for a shift, as they say, 4 hours ringing the bell, and it was pretty cool. It's obviously the local grocery store right by my house, so I got to see people I went to high school and from all walks of life. And we had a very successful day, bell ringing. But I like to bring awareness because in this about a 6-week run, it really does, for the majority, it raises, and they're all about stats and numbers, and you have to be that way with the nonprofit. But it raises funds essentially for the entire 12 months. And what the folks at the Salvation Army do is nothing short of, I say that they're walking, talking miracles that happen every day in people's lives, because people go through hard times and really get down, and life happened to them sometimes unexpectedly. And those folks start experiencing homelessness. And it's not just, I'll say the proverbial guy on the street corner who's asking for money, or it's, I'll call it. Look, I can say this with authority. The wino that's down under a bridge. It's really moms and dads and children that are living out of a car, that are, like I say, life has happened. There's layoffs in the world, and really some unfortunate situations that come along. And the Salvation Army there is literally help people to get back on their feet, whether it's just a backpack for kids' school supplies, or helping people pay their electric bill or their heat bill, or whatever it may be, or actually they get people in temporary housing and then giving them a pathway and a plan to get them in full-time housing. So it is an incredible organization that I do everything I can to down from ringing. And then tomorrow night at the Preds, we call it Rock the Red Kettle campaign. It's a Preds night. So in town, I'll be out at the Preds game tomorrow night here in Nashville, Tuesday night. We'll be ringing out there and creating awareness because it is an incredible cause. Conrad, I appreciate you saving this till the end so I can spread the word about that. It'll be on my social. And so the funds that literally we raise, they change lives. I am a firsthand witness and see it 12 months out of the year that it literally changes families' lives. And it is a fantastic cause. So I appreciate everybody. And you can go on that code right there and donate and help folks out. And I know it's tough for everyone this time of year, but if you have a little bit extra, it goes a long way.
It does go a long way, and we appreciate you guys going a long way around the horn today with us. We've had a lot of fun, and we're excited to talk about what we're doing next week. We're going to dedicate probably 2 hours or more to a great topic, talking about Jeff returning to TNA in 2009.
Whoa.
And I personally cannot wait to ask Jeff Jarrett about this look he was sporting in 2009. Look at this handsome devil right here.
Oh,
Is this lumberjack Jeff? Like, I like the bearded look, man. We got to get that in AEW in 2025.
Hated it, Conrad. Hated it. We'll get into that story next week. Like, I don't want to grow a beard. Oh, yeah. Anyway, Conrad, because
let's look at that again. You telling me that guy couldn't beat Hangman Adam Page's ass? Like, y'all look like y'all are cousins right there.
Well,
I can't wait for you to hit the buckshot lariat and hit him with his own finish, and then after you beat his ass clean in the middle, stack him too high, then you could go ahead and give him a guitar necklace.
Well, we'll get into that story next week, Conrad, because that shot right there that you just saw kind of came out of a meeting one time that I went to. That it just happened. I hadn't shaved in a few days, and that spun out of it. So, one of the most interesting times in my career, to say the least. We will dive into it.
That's our topic next week, and we're going to be doing it live right here. You don't want to miss it. If you haven't already, go hit the subscribe button. You'll be glad you did. Your home for all things Double J is My World Pod. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell, and tell your friends to join us next week right here on My World.
Peace.